before we jump into the content this evening, man?
Oh man, I don't know what you guys have covered so far in my little time away, but I was really blown away by Baron Sorrell and how emotional he was, and
Yeah.
just the way that he seemed. It was really weird too because I've seen interviews with him, and he just seems like he's Rashawn Gary reincarnate. Like everything from the humbleness, the attitude, kind of asking him why he didn't have more production in college, and he said that's not what they asked me to do. They wanted me to set the edge. They wanted me to be, play the run. And had I had more opportunity to pin my ears back, I think I would have had more production. Seems like he comes from a great family. I mean, every single thing about him just screamed that he was a Packer. And then him having the patience and the fortitude to stick it out, being there on day 3, even when the Packers didn't even know he was there. Him and Goodell building a relationship. It just everything about it was really, really cool.
I think that was awesome. He just made the trip on his own, right? Probably just wanted to experience it, and lo and behold, he gets drafted. What a beautiful moment, right?
Definitely. Daryl in the chat says Baron Sorrell had 23 and a half sacks in his collegiate career. If that's accurate there, Daryl, that's pretty decent numbers, isn't it, fellas? I mean, that's not bad at all.
Yep.
Considering you've played 4 years. So good stuff there. Appreciate that. Got a super chat from SDN40. Thank you so much, buddy. He says, Clayton, got to give us your favorite things about your trip. Heck, even your least favorite. Man, that's a good question. My favorite thing about the trip was definitely the people. You got Lambeau there. You got, oh my God, the cheese curds at Hinterland were unbelievable. It was just, the going to 1919 Kitchen and Tap, getting a little touch of that elk stroganoff and everything in between, and just taking in the whole draft. There was just so much. But honestly, and you probably think I'm BSing here, STM40, but I'm being honest, man. Meeting everybody, meeting Mike Hebring and meeting Brambo, and I know I'm going to leave people out here. Mike Berry, it was awesome getting to chat with him, and catching up with Mary, who's a follower on Twitter and someone that I've gotten to know a little bit. She ran me down in the parking lot, and she's just awesome. She helps donate and run a nonprofit to people who are on the spectrum, and we're going to tie that into a charity here soon. It was cool running into them, and oh my God, Trucker John! How can I forget about Trucker John?
So cool to meet him, right?
Yeah, and just again, it was the people, man. None of that means anything if you're there by yourself. You could go to that venue, stand in front of that stage, or go to 1919 Kitchen and Tap, or go wherever, right? And the Packer Hall of Fame was awesome. But if you go there by yourself, man, God put something in us that's everything's meant to be shared with other people, experienced with other people, or else it don't mean near as much. So that would be my answer, STM40. I appreciate the super chat, man. My least favorite is probably Emilio giving me hell all weekend long.
And say Emilio, just in general.
Because it was like every time I went, I think I'm going to head back to the house and do a live stream. He goes, this guy right here. Oh, he gets so upset. And God forbid the old man here have to take a nap every now and again, right?
Right.
Nah, but I'm kind of, it's tongue in cheek. I'm playing around there, but I can't think of a least favorite thing, Tim, to be honest with you, other than calling some dinosaurs on night 2 there. That was rough at 3 a.m., but we won't talk about that. So anyway,
jeez.
Yeah.
I think for me, mine was just not getting picked to kick a field goal on Lambeau Field. I'll get over it someday. I was hoping I'd get selected and put one through the uprights, but I think I would agree with you, man. I think my favorite was just meeting people. Never thought that we'd get stopped at random as much as just walking around and people saying hello. I got stopped on my way back to the car walking through the neighborhood just randomly, and it's just incredible, man. And really the people is what it was all about. I think icing on the cake would be getting to see Emilio and Jordan experience the Packer Hall of Fame for the first time. Them getting to come up for a game a couple years ago and kind of having to get in and out of town really quick and not really getting to see the whole shebang at 1265. That was cool. Especially the look on Emilio's face when he walked into that trophy room. I won't forget that anytime soon. So I think those are my favorites for sure.
Definitely was awesome. Drew D here, Jacob. He says least favorite might Least favorite for him, I think he was saying Emilio having his own backup plate of cannolis. Yeah, he's saying that might have been. I think you're right, Drew. That pissed me off.
Yeah, and that wasn't a backup. That was the primary plate. It was just Emilio was just hogging it.
Put it around the screen. Yeah, I'm like, that's where the cannolis went? What the crap? And shout out to Greg Capel. I hope I'm saying the last name right. It might be Capel, but dropping by just randomly with the tastiest cannolis on the face of the earth.
Oh, yeah. Man, all the way up from Menasha. That was incredible. Thank you.
Unbelievable. One more question here, and we'll get into the content. I know people are like, hey, I came to listen to Packers talk. I ain't come to hear about your trip. So Chuck Jagger says, you see anyone cool? Not one. And I was kind of dreading going out to dinner because it is a swanky restaurant, and I'm kind of like, I'm a blue jean t-shirt hoodie kind of guy. Yeah. And we had to, clean up a little bit. Had to take a shower that day. That sucked, right? But we went over to the Republic Chop House, and the reason I set it up is because every time I'm in Green Bay, if me and Mandy go out for a nice dinner, I go to Republic Chop House. Every time I've been there, every time. There's players there. There's somebody there like, I'll be damn, there's so-and-so. So we roll up in that joint, 6 deep. And out front on the sidewalk, Chuck, was Drew Rosenhaus, the super agent, been an agent in the league for over 30 years, maybe longer. Drew Rosenhaus having a conversation with Peter Schrager and Mike Greenberg, Greeny from Get Up on ESPN. They're just on the sidewalk talking. I was like, damn, there's Greeny. Like that was kind of cool, right? And we walked up and chatted with him for a second, talked a little draft. And then we go inside, and the restaurant was just filled with people, man. Every ESPN on-air personality you can think of, man. Laura Rutledge, you had Adam Schefter, you had Dan Orlovsky, everybody. Mina Kimes came in. They all had their own, table or whatever. And then over to our right is Maxwell Harrison, the Buffalo Bills first-round pick. He's sitting there having dinner with his family. Javon Bullard comes in. Drew Rosenhaus is sitting at a table with the gentleman. We didn't know who it was. No disrespect to him, no name. But now they're over there hanging out, and then all of a sudden Javon Bullard comes in and sits down. I quick Google search. That's right. Drew Rosenhaus is his agent.
Yep.
So they were there. Then Desmond Howard walks out of the back room, and Maxwell Harrison sprints over to him. He had to dap him up like, man, I'm a big fan. So Desmond Howard was hanging out in there. It was a place to be for sure. So there were multiple people like that we ran into. So
Coach really Saban, that was pretty cool, right?
Oh, yeah,
Coach Saban, that was day one, right? Yeah.
Coach Saban walking into Lambeau, and they kind of stop everybody from walking so he could cut across the path. And as he walks by, they're chanting, roll tide, roll tide. And I love it. He's holding that fedora-like hat, and he just kind of went and kept it moving in. So it was cool, man. Pat McAfee outside signing autographs in the piss-pouring rain. That was
what awesome. A cool moment, right? While we're sitting up in 1919 Kitchen and Tap, just having a little lunch, and he's right below us. That was amazing. Man of the people for sure. Shout out to Pat McAfee. That was awesome.
Definitely. And again, SDM40, thank you for that super chat, man. Let's jump into it here. Wes Hockowitz put a tweet out. I thought this was awesome. Says the best boss there is, the best boss there was, the best boss there ever will be. Mark had a vision and belief in this community to see it through. He takes no bows. Is that right? Bows? Yep. How would you say? Was it
no bows, seeks no flowers.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, Mark H. Murphy is that dude. He was the best guy around. The Packers put out that tweet. He said, a weekend, 10 years in the making. All it says is, thank you, Mark. Man, Jacob, it doesn't happen without Mark Murphy, dude. And we talk all the time about how players, Aaron Rodgers having to step into the shoes of Brett Favre. And now Jordan Love stepping into the shoes of Aaron Rodgers. Well, Mark Murphy had to step into the shoes of Bob Harlan. Bob Harlan, guys, our Uber driver, 3 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning, going to the airport this morning. This old dude, really, really cool. Had some stickers on the back glass that I appreciated. We won't go into details, but we get in and chat with him, and we get to talk about Bob Harlan. I'm telling you, there's not a soul on the face of the earth that doesn't like Bob Harlan. But Jacob, what would you say about Mark Murphy here, man, and how, as we wrap up his tenure as acting CEO and president of the Packers, man?
Yeah, I mean, really, what more can you say? I remember, I think it was almost 15 years ago when I went to Lambeau with my whole family. We did the tour. They had just kind of done the renovation shortly before that. And don't get me wrong, Lambeau Field was beautiful then. It's always been beautiful. But I remember where I was standing, just kind of looking over the property, and that was still where, I mean, it is still, it's smack dab in the middle of a small little community. All of a sudden you just have this unbelievable stadium. But now when you look 15, 20 years later, even just from 10 years ago, it's like, I mean, it's its own community. It is unbelievable. If you have never been there, it went from being just obviously like iconic to just go see the stadium, to see that grass, to touch that field, to being an absolute just I hate saying it's like a theme park because that makes it sound kitschy, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's so, they did such a good job, and they had such a thin line that they had to walk before making it kind of kitschy or turning it into like a Vegas or turning it into like a just kind of a money grab. It doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like that the heart and soul, the authenticity of Green Bay somehow is still maintained while also expanding it into like a more modern era where you can have I mean, to say that the Green Bay Packers could have hosted the NFL draft 20 years ago, people would have laughed you out of the room. They would have laughed you out of the room. They didn't have the infrastructure.
Yeah. They would have said, where are you going to host it at? Kmart across the street?
Exactly. Piggly Wiggly.
I just think about it.
Yeah, he doesn't get enough credit, and I honestly don't think that there's a more humble person that I've seen in professional sports. He really doesn't seem like he gives a crap if he gets the credit. He just wants people to enjoy football, and I'll always respect him for that.
Well said, Jacob. Well said. I think my favorite memories of Mark Murphy are the handful of times I've ran across him at the facility or at a game, before a game, in the pro shop. I've seen him out for his morning jog at Titletown before, and as busy and hardworking of a man as he is, he always has time to stop and talk to people. And he will always take time to just talk a little ball or talk about the Packers with fans, anybody who he comes across, and really is a people person, like the definition of people person, man. Mark Murphy really knows, just how you talk about social IQ all the time, Clayton. This guy's got high social IQ, and an absolute integral part of the reason why we have Titletown development, why we had the draft this year. And I'll tell you, boys, I don't know about you, but after this weekend, I don't see a reason other than the weather that the Packers can't host a Super Bowl at Lambeau Field. I don't get it. We pulled off an event of this magnitude. A lot of it due to Mark Murphy and a lot of other people, but Mark Murphy especially at the forefront of pushing this through to prove that Green Bay could handle something of this magnitude. So you got to tip your cap to Mark Murphy for sure.
Definitely. Do You Rant says that announcement of Matthew Golden by Murphy still gives me chills every time I see it. And then like our Uber driver said this morning, he said, boy, Brian Gutekunst's comments stole the show for me. When Goody said, yeah, that wasn't the name I gave to Mark Murphy. Like he just went up there and said, hell with it, I'm taking a receiver here. So that was a really, really cool moment. Mike Avery says, well said, Jacob. Mark has killed it. Appreciate the super chat there, Mike. Good meeting you this weekend, buddy. That was awesome. And meeting your better half as well was really, really cool. So let's see here. I like what Drew D says. This is the best send-off a Packer has ever had. So true. So true, man.
I agree. It's up there for sure.
SDM40, this is the story that the guy was talking about, the Uber driver was talking about this morning too. He said Harlan went door to door to talk people about getting that sales tax passed. Fans don't realize how close the Packers were to the tipping point. Yep. So, and I remember the Bob Harlan, this was his words too. He said that somebody was pushing back on it. He said, well, it's Sunday in the fall. What are you going to do on a Sunday after church? And he said, well, we're going to watch the Packers. Great. We appreciate your vote. And he walked off. Like that's what you've got going here. That's what's on the line, right? So, yeah. United Bates says, Tim, what did your dad or uncle call Kmart? You mentioned it before.
Oh, that's my Uncle Mike. Shout out to my Uncle Mike. He called it Came Apart. That was
anything you bought came apart, right? Yeah. I just remember, Jacob, I remember as a kid, the Kmart back home. And what I always think about when I think of Kmart is I think of dirty floors and the smell of cigarette smoke in the store. That's what I think about. It was just,
hey, man.
It was awesome.
Kmart was back in the day. I'm not saying I did this, but if you were a young kid and you were looking to steal CDs, you would steal them. You wouldn't steal them from Walmart because Walmart edited their CDs. Kmart, however, They let the F's fly. Nobody was editing music in Kmart. So I'm just saying, if you were a young boy and you were looking to,
I'm not saying I did it. I'm just saying some people may have done it.
I'm saying I got DMX, flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. All right. I was the coolest 6th grader around.
I bet the teachers loved you, Jacob. I bet
they did not.
Clint, armchair quarterback, says they said it was the second highest crowd behind Detroit last year. I didn't know where it ranked, but I know they cracked 600,000 people. The big thing was hearing all the media members talk about, like, they ranted and raved over how Green Bay just did it up right. And to me, it's not about the amount of people, it's what's the quality of the product you put out there. And let's be honest, there's way more people in Detroit than there is Green Bay, right? Yeah. And you got to kind of go out of the way to get to Green Bay, as opposed to, you know, Detroit being a little more centrally located, if that's the right way of saying it. So regardless, man, yeah, they ain't got. I will say this: another cool moment for who it was. I think it was STM40. Another cool moment for me. Day 3 was my favorite by far, because we just got to kind of hang out, right? Yeah. It didn't feel like we were working that day, but we're like, hey, let's go up to the top of Arians Hill and get a picture. This is before Tim came over and met up with us. So we go to the top of the hill, and I get up there at the top, and there's a couple of Lions fans, and watching them, I literally just watched them the whole time. And they were leaned up over on the side of the banister, just kind of taking it all in. And I remember one guy in a Lions uniform, in a Lions jersey, go, man, this is awesome. Just looking at what, you know, Mark Murphy had built here in Titletown. It was cool. It was just like that's better than a W on Sunday right there. Seeing him like, damn, I wish we had this. It was cool.
And you know, I'm glad you brought that up, because I got that sentiment too from all these different fans from all these other fan bases while we were there. I mean, everybody was really kind. There was none of that. You know, we're all rivals, and you talk a little trash, right? Sometimes things get heated. There was none of that. I witnessed none of that. I witnessed a lot of green and gold, a lot of Packer fans, but you know, fans of these other franchises, man, were just I don't know, in awe, like you said, Clayton, kind of dumbstruck a little bit. I think I said it to you guys offline before. It's like, you know, I don't care who you root for, who your favorite team is. You know, most people who know ball, when they come to Lambeau Field, you know, you bow down at the throne, man. You know you're at the cathedral of professional football, and it's something special no matter who you cheer for. And it was cool to see that, you know, on display, you know, for 3 days in a row, just getting to see people experience Lambeau and Titletown. It was amazing.
Dude, it's always like that too. Clayton, I don't know if you remember this, but when we were at Lambeau for the Rams game years ago, we were randomly walking down the strip on the way to the stadium, and there was 2 dudes in Bears jerseys that were just hammered as hell, and they're like, this is awesome, look at this. And I was like, can I get a beer? And he's like, hell yeah. And he threw us a beer, and I was like, why are there Bears fans here? We're playing the Rams. There were just 2 Bears fans walking around just taking it in, having a great time. It's like everybody, like Tim said, once you get there, it's just like you recognize it where you are, and it's just a special place to be. It's awesome.
I saw an article in the Press Gazette today, and they were talking about the numbers and everything. And the thing that really stood out to me is the 3-day total, you know, of people that were ejected, you know, like kicked out of the draft experience, was 8. You had 600,000 people over 3 days. 8 people were asked to leave.
4 of them were me.
And you had 1 person arrested for being an idiot or something, right? I mean, that is just, you have to tip your cap to, you know, Brown County law enforcement, you know, City of Green Bay law enforcement, our armed forces that were there. The security apparatus around the entire NFL draft was just unbelievable. It was a safe environment. Everybody had a good time. And there were literally next to no problems whatsoever. And so not only did Green Bay pull this off, they pulled it off with flying colors, and it was absolute chef's kiss perfection.
Yeah. It's going to sound like I'm making a joke. It's not. It's because Wisconsinites honestly know how to hold their booze. Like, I swear to God, if you have this in any other town, just on sheer factor of people getting too drunk and just acting a fool, Wisconsinites do a couple things well: football, food, and beer. All right, we know what we're doing.
I'll say this, man. It was, to me, it was way more of a family atmosphere, though. the kids running around, and that was the part that was really, really cool. Sitting in the bowl and hearing the kids behind us chant "Go Pack Go" just randomly while the draft's going on, just like, man, they're raising them right. It was awesome. Drew D says with the super chat, thank you so much, buddy. He says the animal rescue did an on your honor donation for parking in their lot. We raised $2,130 for animals this weekend. Thanks, everyone. That's absolutely awesome.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. Again, man, there's no place like it. It's great, man. Everybody just helping each other out. That's good stuff, Drew. It's good meeting up with you, buddy. Good to see Loki. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was so cool. What a moment, right?
Yeah, definitely. Biz 1987 with the super chat says, favorite thing about Lambeau, we may hate your team, but we still want you to have a good time, and we hold our booze. There you go. That pretty much sums it up. Sums it up right there.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Appreciate the super chat, Biz. All right, let's so again, that's just wanted to hit on Mark Murphy there, that message that came out from the Packers. That's just like Drew said, I think it was Drew in the chat that said it's just a perfect send-off for Mark Murphy for sure. So this came across the wire